course, we've already crossed the finish line for the half marathon, and Lee Troop caught up with a couple of our winners.
I'm down here at the finish line with the men's half marathon winner, Yoshihara Nishizawa from Japan, who unfortunately doesn't speak any English, but we've got the second place winner, Gamuchi Waicha, who is an Australian. Guys, congratulations. Firstly to you, well done.
Thank you.
And Gamuchi, how did the race unfold?
The race is great, and look, I'm back just like from Paris Marathon 3 weeks ago. I've done Paris Marathon, and this is part of my training again. And just I've done Canberra Marathon, just Canberra 10K on last week. I came second, and just like doing my part of my training, and just I've done great jobs. The course is fantastic, and I really enjoy.
Now I'm down here with the female winner, Laura James. You're a Cronulla girl. What does it mean to win one of the biggest events in the world here in your own home country?
Yeah, it's very unexpected, but exciting. Yeah, so it's good. I run around here in the city all the time, so at lunchtime. So yeah, enjoy home advantage, I guess.
And your time? Were you happy with your time?
Yeah, I was. I was sort of going for. I set out probably about 80. Just was doing the Melbourne Marathon in a few weeks, so I wasn't feeling overly fresh. But yeah, once I got out there, felt good. So.
And what was the crowd like? What was the support like for you leading the race?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really, really good. People everywhere. Yeah, which really helps. And yeah, running, over the Harbour Bridge and seeing the Opera House and stuff, it's pretty awesome.
Well, fantastic, and best of luck for Melbourne in a few weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Lee Troop downstairs with Laura James, and she was just saying that in this particular area she has a quick ham and cheese roll and then heads straight out and does a little bit of training. This is our leaders in the marathon. It is the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. So our leaders just making the way. You can see the centre point tower there in the background. That'll be a pretty good view. You'd be able to see all the runners heading backwards and forwards. And we can see some of those weekend warriors we spoke about making their way down to Mrs Macquarie's chair. The elites are going back up the other way towards the art gallery.
And this is what I was talking about. It's a great spot here where sometimes I actually like it when you move across to the middle. So you're almost, really got great interaction with the runners going the other way. So a terrific way of the weekend warriors integrating and mixing with the elites and seeing how fast they're running and enjoying it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the athletes on the other side of the road cheer on the lead groups. They say, come on, keep going. I mean, it's as you say, the interaction is really what makes the sport something quite special, really.
And there's great camaraderie and respect. I think we all know that everyone that's out there today has been on a journey to get to this stage, to put themselves in a position to be able to run a marathon. You have to have spent months and months of training. So we all respect that, and that's evident in that support that you get out on the road.
There's a great aerial shot there of the athletes. We're using, I think, 3 helicopters here today and a blimp to get these photographs, and it's really showing Sydney off at its best in the wonderful sunshine we're experiencing here today.
And they've got a bit of shade through there, which will be well appreciated, and I think that greenery, more oxygen in the environment when you're running through such a green environment as we've got here in Sydney.
It's funny, look at the 2 stars here. Scotty, looks like he's suffering already at about 7.5k, whereas the other athletes just behind are just loping along. Beautiful rhythm from the African nations, as you say. They are very compact, optimal sort of like running technique really from them.
Yes, and obviously part of that, you need that. If you're not efficient, then the marathon's not the event for you. So I think this might be the chase group.
It is indeed the chase group. They're a little bit off the pace at the moment. Takahiro Kawamura is the man who is in at number 70, and just going through the other listed runner, Josh Harris in the blue singlet.
And Yara Tamaskin. So there are a couple of runners who will be looking at, this is the Australian Marathon Championship, so we're probably looking at the lead Australians, so they've got their own little battle happening here.
And this is the chase group. They're a little bit off, obviously, at this stage, but they will be able to work together. That would be the key, isn't it, that these guys stay together to be able to work back up to the elite runners.
Yeah, and it's quite nice that as they go through the race, we might even be able to get the distances between the lead group and the chase group, which gives you some idea of how far they are behind at the moment.
Exactly, yes. No, they're not really looking up the road, so I think they're in their own pack and quite happily established there.
As we make our way back to the leaders. And you can see Scott Westcott still doing the pacemaking there. And Joseph Maragu, who has been out the front pretty much since the get-go, hasn't he?
Yes, and he's obviously taking up the mantle of helping with the pace with Scotty. And, yeah, they're certainly doing all the work. And, yeah, there's a bit of conversation in the back there, but I think they're just ticking these early kilometres off.
Just getting the job done at the moment is Joseph Maragu and also Scott Westcott. And Hyde Park is the oldest parkland in Australia, located in the heart of Sydney CBD. 16.2 hectares. That's 40 acres in the old. It features the Anzac Memorial, the Pool of Reflection, the iconic Archibald Fountain, and numerous monuments and statues. Hyde Park named after the original Hyde Park in London. And have a look at it, a beautiful green oasis in the middle of the Sydney CBD. Our runners will be making their way through there. Beautiful sunny conditions here for the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. There's the Archibald Fountain right there, and you can see plenty of people lining the streets waiting for our elite runners to make their way past. So a wonderful vista. Here they are as we rejoin our leaders, and it is Joseph Maragu who is still working hard at the front.
Yeah, and I think that's the Frenchman, Al Hassani Ben Canouche, he's become a bit more forward, a bit more prominent in that group, so he's obviously a little bit worried about the pace. So I'm sensing that he's decided to probably move through a little bit, put a bit of pressure on them, so they're not as packed as they were. So there's been a little bit of an injection of pace here.
And there's the Archibald Fountain we just saw so beautifully previously. So they're entering Hyde Park at the moment and running around that Archibald Fountain. How hard is it when you run past the water and you think, wouldn't mind some of that?
Well, having said that, there's about, I think, 16 feeding stations or refreshment stations throughout the whole of the marathon. So there's plenty of opportunity for the athletes. And obviously hydration, we keep mentioning it all the time, but it's very significant in the marathon. Conditions here are not as hot as it's been in some international competitions, but having said that, you still need to take the fluid on.
Oh, indeed. And certainly early. What's the rule? I think if you're thirsty, it's too late. That's what we normally say. So once you're getting that thirst, you probably missed it.
Well, they're making their way through. A couple have taken the opportunity for a little bit of rehydration. You can see the French runner there just having a little drink, and the drink stations manned by our Suncorp volunteers, and terrific to have so many of them, over 1,000 volunteers just lining the course and making sure that our elite athletes, and Scott Westcott is not letting up at all.
Oh, look out.
As they head up the ramp, getting very, very close. That's called an up-close shot, that one. That's absolutely over the...
They're almost on the back seat of the bike there at one stage, weren't they?
I think that shows you're in touch with the motorcycle camera.
And this is the bridge that joins it, because the motorway continues underneath. So the bridge is purposely built for these runners and for this particular event.
That's correct, and it was one of the initiatives of the race organisation to get that so it doesn't interrupt the traffic, to be able to let the runners go through Hyde Park. So it's a great initiative of the organisers to do that.
As they make their way through, just ticked over the half-hour mark, so 32, nearly 33 minutes travelled at this stage, and the pace not particularly on, but they're working hard enough just to click off these early Ks.
Well, I think the talk before the race was that they're trying to go through in about 65 for the half, weren't they, Steve? Which I think is ambitious, really, but I mean, it is possible. But
well, it's ambitious at the moment because they're off that pace.
Yeah.
So I'm sensing that they're probably just happy to roll along and settle into the pace they run. Is the pace they run, Ian?
And you can see the purpose-built bridge there, just making it accessible for all the runners to be able to get across. And now they're on the other side of that bridge. Again, more of the water stations as they make their way through. Joseph Maragu, what goes through his mind, Maragu? He's obviously decided, I'm going to get out in front and do it.
Well, it's a hard ask to go all the way from gun to tape, isn't it? But we'll switch back now.
And this is the family run, the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival, the family run, 3.5 Ks. And that's at Milson's Point, and you can see all shapes, all sizes, all ages. A couple of the enthusiastic youngsters are away already.
And there's the future of our sport right there. Isn't it great to see such young family, lots of families here, kids, and And gee, they're pretty aggressive early, 3.5k. So, but look how young, all ages there. So great to see the kids out there.
Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Look at the shapes and sizes there. You know, you've got some tiddlers up against some of the big guys. Look, there's a few going through. They're pretty heavy men. The Clydesdales, I suppose you could call them.
Well, I think I probably fit into that bracket. Having done a few of the family runs with my children, Sarah and Jamison, it is fantastic, and I know that they love to have a crack against Dad. This is where the run is. At Milson's Point they start. They then head over the Sydney Harbour Bridge, east along the Carl Expressway, and they finish up at the Conservatorium of Music, 3.5 kilometres, and that is the course, as you can see there. So there will be a few people taking on Mum and Dad. I'll beat you to the finish line.
I actually ran with my son and daughter at the Coffs Harbour Running Festival last weekend with Maddie in the 5k and Olivia in the 3k, and gee, they like finishing fast, you kids. They got a great finish, haven't they?
You can probably still finish in front of your kids. There's no chance of me getting anywhere near mine.
It's getting harder, I tell you.
35 minutes have ticked over for the elite men in the marathon, and it's still Joseph Metagu out front with Scott Westcott, who is doing some pacing. This is the men's leading group, getting a little strung out, but it's been a bit of an elastic band, hasn't it, for the last 35 minutes. They've come together, broken up slightly, so certainly nothing to panic about for any of these runners, but they'll just want to stay in touch.
Yeah, and I think through 10k they've obviously set that pace, and they're probably saying, well, we know we're off the pace, but we're just going to continue at this even pace, a bit slower, but they're happy with it, I think.
And Joseph Maragu is the man that we can see up the front. He's actually wearing the Blackmores singlet, so that's Koitale in this singlet here in 2. And you can see that Joseph Maragu is the man that we are going to just find out a little bit more about Joseph Maragu, and he is the man who is leading out the fronts.
My name is Joseph Nganga Marigu from Kenya. I'm 35 years old. I'm here for my second time in Australia to do the Sydney Marathon. I'm looking forward for my marathon on Sunday. I'm just recovering from injuries, so I hope I'm strong enough. Currently in Kenya, when I'm training, I have to do 25 kilometers in each and every day. I've been training well with Patrick Makau, the world record holder group in Kenya. So I believe my training is good. And that's why I believe myself I'm strong enough to win the Sydney Marathon on Sunday. Before my marathon, the only thing I do, I take tea and a lot of water before, and like a banana. I believe I'll do well on Sunday. That's why I'm here. And it's a beautiful place. I have to win the race.
There he is. He's hoping he might be number one at the end of today as well. From Kenya, Embu is his hometown, Joseph Maragu, and his personal records, just running through it, boys, the 10K, 27.43, the half marathon, 59.45, and the marathon, 209.25. So he is there, and he's certainly going to figure prominently, you would suggest, at the end of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Marathon.
They are very impressive statistics. Yeah, so he's got no worries at 10.5, and his marathons are still a very
fast at the 10k.
Yeah,
I mean, as I say, he's the speed man in this field. Yeah. And I'm doing my maths. He runs 175k each week. It's consistently running that sort of distance is going to make you very strong indeed. I mean, what was your peak distance? What was the sort of peak mileage that you were doing at any stage for the marathon, Steve?
Well, we like to get I had a 200 kilometre a week was normally my standard marathon training week. I think there was 1 week I did 233k was my highest ever. So all of these athletes would be doing over 160k's a week, or they wouldn't be in this position.
It is a genuine international event thanks to the strategic partnership between the New South Wales Government's Tourism and Major Events Agency, that's Destination New South Wales, and the event organisers. Sydney Running Festival incorporates the Sydney Marathon, a major international running festival alongside Boston, New York and also London. Here's a couple of splits that we've got. Maragu out in front, 16 minutes and 17. Westcott obviously the same as well. And then we move back through Gabriel Michael, Chiru, Koitale as well. So that's a couple of the early splits.
I think that's a 5k split, so we've advanced a little bit. But the same people there, certainly no difference. And and I think they just slowed a little bit even from that pace. So they're going to have to pick it up somewhere, Steve.
Yeah, they are. But I think what's happening now is that they realise that it's not going to be a fast race, so there's almost sort of degenerating into a tactical race now. They're deciding what they're going to do tactically to win this race. But there's $10,000 also up for grabs for the winner here, so it's a big thing for someone to win if you're an African. And I think that's what they're trying to do at the moment. They're starting to degenerate, thinking about the tactics.
Yeah. And here we come back to our women leaders, and wearing the 19 is Beatrice Jekimboy from Kenya. She's in the yellow. And then in the 14, closest to camera, is Biratat Degafa, and she is from Ethiopia. So they're doing well. The women's leaders out in front, approaching the 40-minute mark.